What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Get Mo Fit YouTube channel. My name is Morgan Downey, and here at Get Mo Fit, we are a health and life coaching business. And if you are a single woman, and if you have ever struggled with the thoughts of, what am I doing with my life? Like, I have my job, I want to get married one day, but like, what's going on? What am I doing? If you ever felt like kind of just stuck in life on some like, what's next? Like, what's going on? This video is for you. I'm going to be getting into how to live an intentional life. What does it even mean to live an intentional life? And share some personal stories about how I began to do this in my single season and how much it has benefited me present day. So if that is you, if you struggle with any of these questions, stay tuned because we're going to dive into it right now. So what does it mean to live an intentional life? To me, living an intentional life means you have your mind set on a certain way you want to live, a certain type of person you want to be. And every day you're kind of working towards going in that direction. It's a little different from a goal, even though your intention can be the goal. But a goal to me can be a little bit more specific. A goal often is associated with a certain timeline versus an intention is just like, this is who I want to be, period. And I'm just going to keep moving in this direction no matter how long it takes me, no matter what comes in my life or goes out of my life, I'm moving in this direction. It's similar to values, just like things that are really important to you that you want to focus on. So why is it important to live an intentional life? God has given each and every one of us a purpose, a reason for being here. So we're not just here to just float through life day to day, but no, every single person has a very intentional purpose that they are called to walk out. And one of those things is just being in relationship with the Lord. But with the understanding that you have a purpose, it's like you want to live intentionally so that you fulfill that purpose. By the time it's your time to go and God calls you home, I know I do. I want to go knowing I have done what I have been called to do, and now I am ready to rest with the Lord. Another reason why I think it's so important to live an intentional life is because you want to live a life that you're proud of. You want to have a life that you enjoy. I know I want to look up, 10 years from now and be like, I created this, through the intentional effort that I have put in, I have helped co-create this. Because yes, God is the author and he has already planned out everything of what our life will be. But the day-to-day decisions that we make, we get to choose. Are we going to go in that direction or are we just going to live beneath our potential? And I'm trying to live out my potential, okay? So another reason why I think this is so important, especially in your single season, is because when you live a life of intention, it will close the door to certain things, to certain people who don't align with the intention that you set. And it will open the door to certain things, people, or opportunities that do align with the intention that you've set. So it gives you some clarity on how to spend your time, how to spend your money, etc. So one of the ways I learned how to live an intentional life began back in 2019. I had just graduated college, and one thing that I knew was that I did not want to be a lawyer anymore. I didn't want to go down that path because I didn't want the lifestyle of a lawyer. And so often we'll know what we don't want, but we don't know what we do want. And what I knew that I didn't want was I didn't want to have a high stress job. I didn't want to not have the flexibility in my schedule to cancel a day if I needed to and not meet with my coworkers or my clients. I knew I wanted the freedom to maneuver my schedule around if I needed to, because I just lost my mom to cancer and I was like an emotional wreck. So I needed some personal time some days, I just needed those mental health days. So I also knew that long term, when I think about having a family, I wanted to have the time and space to really give to my family and not always be working. So because I knew those things, I knew on the flip side, what I did want was flexibility in my schedule to be able to like cancel a session or cancel, a day if I needed to. I wanted to be able to essentially work from home and like be able to just work from my computer all day if need be. And I knew that I wanted to have the freedom to wear what I wanted to wear, because lawyers, you had to dress up all nice and business casual or professional every single day. I didn't want to do that. Okay. I actually used to hate having to dress up. So with knowing these things about myself, I set the intention of creating a job that aligned with how I wanted to live and the gifts that I had. So essentially, I recognized that I was going in a direction that I didn't want to go in, which was law. And I had to reroute and decide, okay, what direction do I want to go in? How do I want to live? And that was when personal training came about. I loved working out. I loved helping other people work out. And I appreciated being able to schedule with clients on my own time. And in the event that I needed a mental health day, I could take one and just reschedule the session. I began to learn how I could train clients online and just so on and so forth. Like I decided, no, like this is the route that I want to take because this will give me the life that I essentially want to live. And I just got on that path and started walking intentionally towards creating that result in my life. After I made the decision to set this intention that like, boom, this is the type of life I want to live, it was now important for me to understand, okay, what type of person creates this result in their life? So a part of that was just me being disciplined, me working out and learning how to eat well for myself so I could live as an example. If I'm going to be a personal trainer, I have to like show the lifestyle, right? Another part of it was educating myself, going out, getting certified, and even beyond just getting certified, reading books or listening to podcasts that will help my skills in that area. In addition to that, even as an entrepreneur, it's super important to constantly be like uplifting your mindset and helping to grow in the area of just mindset and professional and personal growth so that I can continue to pour into my clients and just have the motivation and encouragement to keep going in the direction that I want it to go in. So this is what I call it, the create phase of like, okay, I've decided to be this person and now I'm creating this person, I'm creating this lifestyle. It takes time, but when you don't have like a set, okay, this is when it has to happen by, this is the path, exactly how it's going to go. It gives you the flexibility to like just live your life day to day, set the intention, set your eyes on kind of the direction you're going in. But I feel like it has given me space to not feel so much pressure to like, you have to hit it by this time, but it's like, no, just keep working and growing in this direction. And as you see the progress, it's very fulfilling. So as I've gone along this process, I've actually done this in multiple different areas of my life, but I call this process the RDC process. It stands for recognize, decide, and create. And this is essentially now what I'm taking my life coaching clients through. So yes, Get More Fit started as just personal training, but over time, things got revealed to me and things were exposed just through all the different women that I've trained. And I started to realize the importance of coaching the entire person and not just physical goals, because at the end of the day, what's going on in here is producing what is showing here. So if you don't coach the mind and help people in their life, the physical results they get won't actually last. So that has expanded the business to life coaching. And now that I'm in this season, I'm able to help women in a totally different way than I was back in 2019. However, I'm still using the same process that I took myself through. So the RDC process is essentially recognizing where are you currently, deciding who do you want to become, and then slowly creating that person, creating those results in your life on a day-to-day basis. And it's very trial and error. You realize what works, you realize what doesn't work, and then just keep on chugging along. So another area that I was able to apply the RDC process was in my relationships, or is in my relationships. And for example, back in 2019, I was booty butt hurt. Okay. I had dealt with so much just like trauma and just heartbreak from previous relationships. Even up until about 2020, when I really was like single, I was not talking to anybody. I began to really dive into like, where am I relationally? Like, what do I like? What do I not like? In terms of just where I was and how I was feeling, and, how jaded I was, and all the different things. And I decided that I wanted to try relationships God's way, because at this point I had done all these different things and tried my way, but I was so over relationships. I'm like, look, God, here, just take this area of my life. I need you to tell me what to do, because I am over it. All right. I was so over just the ins and outs of navigating dudes. Okay. They got on my nerves, but I was willing to just release the past and just submit to however God wanted relationships to go. So once I decided that I was going to commit, and I set that intention to follow God's way of doing relationships, when I say committed to creating those types of results in my life, I wanted a godly relationship. That was the result I wanted, and I knew that I would do whatever it took to get it. So what does that look like practically, and how I began to create that in my life? I would listen to sermons. I would read books about what does God want for relationships? What is His will? I, of course, got in my Bible, and I just began to learn about what that actually looks like practically. And then, lo and behold, I got married. Like, boop. No, it didn't happen that fast. So it was a lot of just learning about the relationships, but it was also a lot of self-work, because, for example, in a godly relationship, you have to forgive. You have to learn how to forgive. And that was something that I was working on personally, letting go of my past and really giving it to God and learning how to forgive people on a day-to-day basis. What's another way? Learning how to express my emotions. If you want to have a healthy, Christ-centered relationship, you have to have hard conversations. You have to speak in love. You can't be a hothead. I kind of used to be a hothead, not kind of, was. And that's what I wanted for my life. That was the intention that I set. So I was in therapy for years. I'm still in therapy, because I still want to be a woman of God who behaves in a certain way, who has a certain character, and treats their husband a certain way, shows up as a wife a certain way. So once you set that intention, it doesn't just go away. Like, you continue to work at it. It is a daily effort to keep moving in that direction. I share all of these things today, not to brag by any means, but to, one, encourage you out there, if you're in your single season, to go ahead and start setting your intention now. I am currently living in the results that I set back when I graduated college. I wanted to be working from home, working from my computer, and serving people online. I wanted to have a Christ-centered marriage where we're really loving on each other and moving intentionally within our relationship. And there's multiple different areas where I still see the fruit today, and I'm continuing to recognize, decide, and create new fruit in my life. But like, being able to rinse and repeat this process has really changed my life to the point where I wake up and I'm joyful. I'm grateful, because yes, I'm not where I want to be just, by the time I die, all the things that I want to do have been created or have been done. No, but I'm on the path. And when you're on the path that is aligned with where you want to go, you have so much peace just knowing, yep, this is how I want to live my life. This is who I want to be. And when you release the attachment to the time period of when it happens, like within, there's just so much peace to just know, look, God has everything under control. I am going to control what I can control, and that is the decisions that I make on a day-to-day basis. So to wrap up, I encourage you, wherever you are in your single season, I encourage you to take some time and take some inventory. Get a journal and write out, how do I feel about my life right now? Where am I satisfied? Where am I kind of unsatisfied? And in the areas that you're unsatisfied, what would you like to see in your life? Like, what would you like to see in your future that you don't have results for right now? And once you get clear on that, once you recognize like where you're kind of living in an out of alignment for like what you ideally want, you get to decide, are you going to become the type of person that gets the results that you do want? Or are you just going to kind of keep floating through life and end up somewhere in a few years that you're not even really satisfied with? Like, really decide, who do you want to be? What is the future that you want to have? And then little by little, start creating that person. Be mindful of the things that you're listening to. Be mindful of the things that you're watching. Are they moving you in the direction towards what you want? Or are they moving you away from what you want? For example, one thing that I really want for my life, I want to continue to always see myself as God sees me. So if I'm listening to music that does not align with how God sees me, that's not helping me go in the direction that I'm trying to go in. So be very mindful of what you're consuming. If I want to become a better business person, but anytime I get free time to listen to a podcast, I'm watching Love Island, which I don't even watch. But if I'm not filling my mind with things that put me in the direction that I want to go, like, that's going in the opposite direction. So the clearer you are on where you're headed, the easier it will be to determine, like I said earlier, how to spend your time, where to put your energy, what friends to hang out with, what friends to maybe not hang out with as much. And it's not to say that you have to cut people off completely, but it will kind of give you a little discipline in terms of where or who gets the most of you. So I hope this video helps somebody out there. I hope that you can begin to create the life that you actually want to live while you're single. Because then if you create it now, if you start creating it while you're single, when you get married and you have these same type of habits, these habits will continue throughout life. Then you get to create an intentional marriage where you all are moving in the direction that you want to go in. You can continue to grow with your partner and not away from your partner. Because if you set the intention that you want to grow with your partner, there are intentional things that y'all will do together to grow together, versus not having any sort of intention in your relationship, and then slowly but surely y'all just drift over the years. Like, you really want to live an intentional life starting now in your single season. So for the rest of your life will be cultivated with intention. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please drop them in the chat below. I would love to hear from you, and let me know, like, where in your life would you like to begin to live more intentionally? All right, see y'all later. Bye.